Goes on to Group H, the final group, which has Paris Saint-Germain, Leipzig, and Istanbul, and then the whipping boys of that group, Manchester United. So we'll talk a bit more about Manchester United when we go to talk about the sort of Premier League roundup. But I fear for them. Like, I watched their game today against Tottenham, and I would say we'll go into more detail about it later. But they've got big problems.
Yeah. I also don't think they've quite got the strength in depth to be able to take out, say, one or two players.
Yeah.
And still sort of do a good job. I think if you take any of the front three out, the quality really drops off.
Yeah. I
think if you're taking out, well, the back four looks a shambles, but I think the back four is much of a muchness, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
If they can get the signings across the line before the transfer window shuts, I'll give them a bit more kind of like quality. But I'm still not totally convinced that they've got enough to concentrate. That I just see them losing.
Yeah,
having a bad defeat at the weekend and then losing in midweek in the Champions League as well, or vice versa, kind of losing a game in the Champions League and it bleeding over into league quite badly because they haven't quite got the numbers to be able to freshen up or rest or to bring players in when they have a bad result to change things enough. I think.
So the thing for me is I have no confidence that Manchester United will win any game they play at the minute. You couldn't say on any real certainty that if Manchester United went to play anyone, you say, "Oh, they're going to win that," because they just look absolutely again, sort of preempted later on, but they just looked terrible today, and they have no confidence at all, like none, and like. Unless something changes pronto, I think they're really going to struggle this season. They're really going to struggle. I think I had them finishing in the Europa League places, but unless something changes pronto, then I think that's at risk because they're in real trouble. So I think out of that one, you're looking at PSG and Leipzig. Yeah,
I think. Well, the only thing about Leipzig is they had Timo Werner last year. And he was kind of their best player.
Yeah.
And I don't know enough if they've replaced him. So there could still be a chance there for Man United if they can cobble together 8 points or something out of that kind of game. But I mean, Manchester United going to Turkey. If you remember, like me, in the early days of the Champions League, some of those matches were sort of the welcome to hell matches at Galatasaray.
Yeah.
I mean, we're a generation on from them, and obviously there's not many fans there. But never take for granted sort of those sort of trips that seem easy, especially a Man United team that looks shorn of confidence and has got plenty of skill. And if some of their strikers start firing, then they could still qualify. But I wouldn't place it. I wouldn't be a betting man on them doing particularly well out of that group.
Definitely not. Okay, so we'll move quickly on to Europa League now. There is 12 groups, so we will not go through them all. What we'll just sort of focus on are the British teams. So the first one that comes up is in Group B, which Arsenal, they're with Rapid Vienna, Molde, and Dundalk. So a great draw for Dundalk. It's just a real shame that, when they go to the Emirates, there's not going to be any fans there because that would have been a great day out for a team like Dundalk to go and get a massive payday at the Emirates. So Arsenal struggled through the group stages last season. I think they're a different team this year.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll have too many problems getting out of that group. But as I say, Rapid Vienna, the Austrian football is, obviously watched Salzburg last year. They played Celtic and they were a decent side, so, and Molde, that's Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's old team, isn't it? So, so I don't think Arsenal have any problems there. Do you think?
No, I don't think so. And I think Arsenal have treated the Europa League as it kind of deserves to be treated by a team like Arsenal. They've played a lot of young players in there, but young players as opposed to reserve players. They really have used it as a development tool, and they've had some really good results. I remember like Ashley Maitland-Niles and Joe Willock. So
that's right. Yeah, they started, didn't they?
They kind of started. They started like playing a lot of games in the Europa League, and now they've got these players who aren't going to play every week in the Premier League, but will need games. So I think they could. I think they've got enough players to do quite well in the Europa League this year. I think I'll definitely look at through the group, and it depending where on the league they could have a tilt at it. So when we get to the get into the new year, I think.
Well, I think that the biggest sort of sea change for the English teams in particular is the fact that if you win the Europa League, you get a Champions League spot. So for a team like Arsenal who haven't been in the Champions League for a good while, it really makes sense for them to win this.
Yeah, definitely.
But, so moving on to Group D, this is Rangers. They were in pot 3, so they came out with Benfica, Standard Liège, and Lech Poznan. I am confident that Rangers are going to get out of that group. I'm going to predict it right now that I think Rangers will finish second in that group behind Benfica, and will get through to the last 32 quite comfortably, because I think their style of play is more suited for Europe than it seems to be for the although they've done really well in the SPFL so far this season. But I'm pretty confident Rangers are going to get out of that group quite safely.
Yeah, I think in the new year, I think it'll be that weird thing when all of a sudden they'll play like a reserve youth team in the last 32 in one of the sort of like latter games. I definitely they'll play like a very, very young team then if they do get through. But like you said, they've put like I said, going over to Holland and getting a victory away. I think they're confident, and I think in the short term anyway, they'll need that. They're confident at the minute. They're doing well, and I think they'll continue that. And it'll kind of fit, like we said with Man United, the bad results might feed into each other. I think with Rangers, I think they'll be looking to just keep their momentum going as long as they possibly can. Now, I've not checked when the fixtures are, but if there's an Old Firm match around the time of the one of these games, I could see both teams kind of throwing in a young team before or after that game. So that does depend. But I still think even if they do that for one game or even 2 games, I still think they'll be good enough to get through, to get out of that, that group.
I agree with you. I think it all depends the state of play at New Year. If it's still in the SPFL, then I think that's going to tell us a lot. If Celtic are stretched away, then I think you might see Rangers taking it a bit more seriously. But yeah, I think it'll be the Europa League is most definitely a second priority for both Old Firm teams.
Yes.
So moving on, Group G sees Leicester City in with Braga, AEK, and Zorya Luhasnik. And I'm going to say I am not 100% up on Zorya Luhasnik, but I mean, Leicester got a doing at the weekend, but they seem to be a good side, and there's not. I mean, Braga are a decent side, but you've got to think Leicester get through that.
Yeah, I do think so, and I think like again, Braga were the sort of team that the Portuguese team, and I think didn't they get a good result against one of the British teams or English teams? Yeah,
they played. Didn't they put Wolves out? Or no, were they in Wolves' group last Europa League and beat them? I'm sure that was them.
But I just think Leicester are. I think the way Leicester are set up, they're set up quite well for a European kind of like system. Quite defensive and really, really incisive on the counter attack. James Maddison, Harvey Barnes have got a lot of creativity in there. Well, depending on who they play, but you could see Iheanacho easily getting 10 goals in the group stage or something, couldn't you? If they tried to rest Vardy for those games, for some of the games. But I think Leicester will be. I think Leicester will do well in that group.
So moving on to Group H. So Celtic were in pot 1, right? So the top seeds. So how on earth, when you're the top seeds, do you end up in a group with AC Milan? So, so Celtic, Sparta Prague, AC Milan, and Losk. So again, we've spoken enough about the Old Firm and where we think they're going to come out. AC Milan are a shadow of the team they were. If Celtic are on it and concentrate and play at their full potential, they get out the group. If they are focusing on 10 in a row, which I fear they will be, then they won't. I think it's as simple as that.
Yeah, I don't think Celtic will get out of the group, because I think a little bit like sort of we mentioned with Scotland, I think they're trying to find their best formation and their best system at the minute. They seem to be playing, like James Forrester as a left wing back, and and they're playing at 3 at the back, and so that they can play 2 up front, but then they're totally unbalanced in midfield, and they're good enough to do that and beat half of the teams in the Scottish Premier League, but. Scottish Premiership, sorry. But I don't think they can keep it. I don't think they can keep that up. And I think they'll make a choice to try and, and I think it'll be used to get to get certain players up to full fitness for Celtic.
Yeah,
I think they'll chuck in a couple of dodgy results, and
I think Lee Griffiths will feature quite heavily in the Europa League campaign. I think a
bit like when Neil Lennon said they only had the strikers weren't fit to play in the game that they lost against Ferencváros. They didn't have strikers.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they had only just signed, but that's a worrying thing to hear.
Yeah, definitely.
I think, like I said, I think Neil Lennon's under a lot of pressure, and I think they'll have a couple of dodgy results, and then it'll be we're concentrating on the league sort of thing.
Yeah, everybody will forget about it when they win 10 in a row. So
yeah, and no one will complain. And it's not like they're robbing the Celtic fans of great European night.
No, exactly.
Because there's going to be in the stadiums is for any of these games, unfortunately. So it's not like they're going to put our reserve team in front of 60,000 people. It's going to be a reserve team in front of 8 men and the UEFA official, isn't it?
Sadly, you're right. Yeah, it would be cool. So that just leaves.
I just want to say, I do hope I'm wrong.
Of course, I think 100%. Yeah,
I really want Celtic to do well. I just that's a prediction. And if you know anything about the sport use of predictions, we are always bang on when it comes to predictions, aren't we?
Yes, 100%. 100%.
So Celtic fans, you can thank me in March when you're sort of planning your semi-final trips.
Oh dear. Okay, so the final group to talk about is Group J, which is Tottenham Hotspur's group. Ludogorets, LASK, and Antwerp. Again, looks like pretty straightforward stuff for Tottenham. Just depends how focused they're going to be kind of on that. But I reckon, like Arsenal, the lure of a Champions League place at the end of it, particularly given A, unpredictable, and B, congested the top 6 is in the Premier League. I reckon Spurs will take this quite seriously. I
think so, yeah. Having watched the All or Nothing Tottenham, Jose Mourinho is a winner, and he does want to win a trophy at Tottenham. Yeah. I think this they could have a tilt at this one as well. And again, they do have a lot of quite samey players, but with their new striker that they signed and. That Welsh guy that they've got on loan from Real Madrid.
Is he any good, man? Have you heard? I've not really heard.
Apparently he was. Apparently he scored a few goals. I think needing to get him up to fitness as well might help.
Yeah.
This weirdly. So I think they've got enough quality to bring players in and out, and hopefully hopefully Dele Alli can have a nice run, and we can all feel their ferocious heat.
Absolutely. Okay, cool. So that is the European roundup. So all those games will take place, obviously, come back from the international break. Okay, so before we move on to the SPFL roundup, any of our regular listeners will know that my co-commentator, James, is a Hartlepool United fan, and I am thrilled to announce on his behalf that the National League returned this weekend. So, James, how did Hartlepool United get on this weekend?
Oh, it was. Listen, it's been a long time coming. The National League. If you guys remember back in the before times, the National League played one more round of fixtures after the kind of the Premier League kind of stopped and the most of the league stopped. However, that was the last game of the last matches they played. There were playoff matches and stuff, but that was the last match they played. So sort of 200 days later, unbelievably, here we are finally kicking off the season again. And so something that you've actually had before, Dave. You've actually kind of got used to, and I think it's something that I'll be doing again in the future. The Hartlepool put on a live stream of the match.
Excellent.
And I was happy to pay for it. I just want to make it totally clear. I did pay for it. It's a legal stream and everything.
Yes, absolutely.
Paid for it £9.99, and it was absolutely brilliant to be. It was like being back at Victoria Park again. It'll always be Victoria Park to me. It was, and the commentary was really good. Some people on social media have had a go at the guy, but he did a really good job. And Keith Nobbs, who's a Hartlepool legend and also father of Jordan Nobbs, the Arsenal women's and England women's midfielder. He was really good as kind of a pundit as well, and it was just really, really good to see Hartlepool back, to see football back at the National League level.
So actually, you brought that up there, and that's something that I'll kind of jump on it as the streaming service now. Obviously, if you support a team in the Premier League, then